sacrifice means we're going to give up something for something else, right? And so as you look at that, if I've amassed wealth and stability and home and all the great things I want, I'm going to look at that and say, do I want to give that all up knowing that the odds are against me? Or is my idea so revolutionary, so big, that actually it will surpass what I have in place, and I think I can do that? So each person looks at kind of what they're giving up at that moment in time. In my life right now, man, I'd be giving up a ton, and I am still an entrepreneur. I am still taking risks. But I've mitigated the risk by saying there's just certain things that I won't do. So there's some things I've set aside for the family. I'm not touching anything that the family would.
You're talking financial assets.
Financial assets. I'm also looking at my relationship with my spouse or my kids. There's how much time is it going to take me to go out and do that would take away from that. So there's always kind of this trade-off. I'm giving up this to do this, and people in their own mind and heart have to say, all right, I need to understand what my values are, what's important to me, and how much of that can I give up to do this other thing. And that's why a lot of people don't become entrepreneurs, because that sacrifice is for them too great. They just can't give up those things. It is kind of a matrix you build. You're looking at personal assets, you're looking at relationships, you're looking at other things that are important in your life, other things where you put time and commitment. And you're looking at those, and then in this matrix, you're looking across the top and say, how much can I give in each one of these areas? So I say to an entrepreneur, this for you, it's probably going to take you $50,000 to get to this stage before you get family money and others and maybe some angel money. Can you give up $50,000 of your wealth to do this? Because that's maybe what it's going to take. And they're going to have to go back and look and say, that's probably more than I'm willing to do. It would tip me over. And so that starts to be a decision-making factor for them as they sort through these various things on their matrix. And from there, you can make some intelligent decisions, still without all the knowledge. You don't have all the facts, but at least you have a sense for I can do this or I can't do this. Well, I did the former where I actually second mortgaged the house with the 6 kids. I mean, I would have been living in a park eating government cheese, in a van down by the river.
This is after you sold it or paid it off?
Yes. Yeah, because I actually said to the bank, I need the money, and the house is paid off, but I need that money. We had a modest little home, and but it was enough to get me off. But my downside, the risk side of this thing, what I was giving up was enormous. The sacrifice was huge. But it was one of those things where I said to my wife, if it fails, we'll just kind of start over again. And that's one of the ingredients is she said, I'll let you do that because this is so important to you. This makes you happy, and I want you to be happy. So that's one of those kind of factors in there, isn't it? Sometimes it's not even the economics of it. It's really more, I've got to do something on my own. I've got to take a dream. I've got to fulfill it. And there's huge value in that. I mean, they've got to be equally yoked in such a manner because it's such a big thing. It affects everybody, doesn't it? And that's one of the reasons why I see a lot of people who have good ideas who never step up. They have a wonderful wife, but the wife just is risk averse. She just cannot give up that beautiful nest she's built with those wonderful children. And the husband just stays where he is. I'd say that's probably the area that suffers most for people is on the personal side. I think back when I was running the business that I started that, my wife was lonely. I was never home. I'm on the road. I'm out talking to customers. I'm doing whatever I have to do. I'm missing games of my sons playing ball. I'm not going to the dance recitals. Those moments in time are perished. You're never going to have those back. And so people have to look at that. How many people do I know who started a business that lost their family through a divorce or something because they were so concentrated on trying to win and get the deal done? And so it's probably the one that has the biggest impact. We could always lose our money. That's one thing. Your health obviously is a big thing, but you might not get the job or promotion. That can be restored. But family, your health, how do you get that back if you've blown that? So there's kind of an edge of how far you can take it. And most men that I know that go after that sometimes lose sight of they've crossed the boundary in pursuit of the dream. and it's killing things back home.
Where is that boundary? Is that a time? You've mentioned the year-long period before. Is that a time limit, or is that what kind of limit is that? Where's the boundary?
You know, it depends upon you and your spouse and your tie and your emotions around it. My wife has the ability to last quite a long time being alone, if you will. She doesn't like it, but she's okay with it for a season. But I can imagine, I've got daughters-in-law who, you know, if that husband of theirs are gone overnight twice in a week, they're wanting to call it, you know, you got to stay home kind of a thing. So where that relationship is and in that way that the husband and wife get along and are bonding together is huge, and how much time they have to spend to make it work. So the way you would look at that is you'd put these mileposts in the road around product development, getting the customers engaged. And so you've got some things that eventually lead up to where you've got money coming in, you've got then the systems in place. And so the business person who's starting this enterprise has some definitive milestones along the way that say I'm progressing or I'm falling behind. And if you start to see that you're falling way behind the plan, you're starting to say to yourself, is this going to make it, and is it worth it? I always like to say to an entrepreneur, we'll talk about this on another day, of being, you know, in it and not giving up. But most of the time there does come a moment when it's realistic and practical where you say, I'm going to back up, this idea isn't working, it's not happening fast enough, I'll find another idea. That doesn't mean they give up on being an entrepreneur, they just kill that idea.
How do you balance that, though, with saying, because most of the time the successful companies happen because, hey, we didn't see it, but finally we struck gold, so to speak. How do you make sure you're not pulling back too quickly?
It's just such an unknown thing, isn't it? Because you don't know what that future holds. You're always doing this by a leap of faith. And you're hoping that you get enough signals and signs that where I'm headed will eventually lead me to the promised land, but you just don't know until you get there. And now you're looking back at those things where you're taking a risk, those things where you're making a sacrifice, saying, how much longer can I give up those things to pursue this particular dream? And there just comes a time, probably more emotionally than it is from a intellectual point of view, where the emotions probably take over and you fold because it's gone beyond the mark.